Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. Today's video is going to be the last update for my Shop My Shadows series that I'm doing here on my channel in 2019. So this is the series where I'm rotating through my eyeshadow collection. Each month I will pick new eyeshadows to use, and my goal is to use all of my eyeshadows at least once this year. So this is the last update, then next month it's going to be the finale. I can't believe that I have already used almost all of my eyeshadows at least once during this year. That's crazy. And I have also been able to do some project panning, so I'm really happy. But at the same time I'm really happy to be wrapping this project in about a month. I'm ready for new things, and actually I want to film one of those videos where you can help me to pick my panning project. I'm going to do a painted palette, but I want to do another challenge with that, and that is something I have a hard time deciding on, so I want to ask your opinion. This time we are going to go through the eyeshadows that I have been using in November, and then in the end of the video I will show you the eyeshadows I will be using in December. So let's start with November's eyeshadows, and actually this time I'm going to give you kind of like an unofficial update for my baby panda palette. So in April this year I had this BH Cosmetics Neutral Eyes to Go eyeshadow palette in this Shop My Shadows rotation project, whatever, and I decided to make it my baby panda palette, and I filmed an update for this in October. And in my update video I told you that this one will probably last till the beginning of next year, and I will probably be able to finish it up in January or in February. However, I have really been able to make so good progress with this one that my new goal is to actually finish this one up completely before next year. My biggest motivator for this is that we are going to be moving in the end of the year, and I want to be done with this palette before we move. So this is where I am right now. There's not much product left. I'm not going to show you close-up pictures now because this is just an unofficial update, but I was able to finish up this shade in the middle, in the bottom row. The top is almost gone, like it's going to be only a couple of uses because these eyeshadows are quite powdery. Then there is this kind of like rosy mauve shade that I'm sure I will be able to finish if I just focus on it. The hardest one maybe is this deeper shimmery brown. I don't tend to wear these deep eyeshadows, at least all over my lid, on everyday basis, but at the same time we are now in fall, and I think I can pull out that really smoky brown look on everyday basis for a couple of times, and there's not much shadow there either, and also it looks beautiful with some lighter eyeshadows when I wear this one on the outer corner. So I'm sure that I will be able to finish up this palette this year, and then I don't need to move this palette with me. So that is my quick update on this. That being said, I do have quite much eyeshadows that I will need to use in December. I do have maybe 29 eyeshadows I will have in my rotation in December. So I will try to incorporate this palette into my looks really often. Not maybe into every single look, but to most of my looks, so that I can both use all of the eyeshadows that I have left for December and finish this palette. And then I will need to wear eyeshadow every day. I think recently I have been a little bit more lazy with my makeup game, and I have had days when I'm not really feeling like wearing eyeshadow. I mean, it's understandable if it is an early morning, like if I'm going to work at 7 AM, I will need to wear eyeshadow most of the days. I know I will have some days coming when I will go to work 6 AM. I will tell you I'm not going to wear eyeshadow on those days, but other than that I need to wear eyeshadow every single day to get to my goals. But yeah, let's move on with the other eyeshadows I used in November. In November I had in my rotation the last loose eyeshadows in my collection that I still had to use. These three are from Geek, Chic Cosmetics, and they are from their Fellowship collection, but you cannot get that collection anymore, but you can get these three as singles. So these are called Samwise the Brave, I Am No Man, and One Ring, and obviously these are themed by the Lord of the Rings. And actually I did join into the Fantastic Ladies Lord of the Rings project, and because of that project I have been wearing these a little bit more. These are in that project. So I have been wearing these and I will still be working on these. Maybe not that much during the next month. I will try to use them at least once during the next month. But I will be more focused on the Baby Bandit palette and my Shop My Shadows series. But I will still make sure to get more uses and progress on these eyeshadows during the next 3 months that the Fellowship of the Pan Project Pan collab is still going to be going on. So yeah, these I am going to keep, but something I will say that now that I have used all of my loose eyeshadows this year at least once, I do like how they look on my eyes. Sometimes you can get like a really beautiful effect with so many different colors in just one eyeshadow when you have different sparkles and everything. But at the same time, using loose eyeshadows is so much effort that for me it's not worth it. And even though I'm going to keep all of my loose eyeshadows, I will try to pan them later, but I am not going to keep purchasing loose eyeshadows anymore. In November I had 2 eyeshadow palettes in my rotation. The first one being my side eyeshadow palette, and this is the e.l.f. Prism eyeshadow palette in the set Naked. So this is the really nude one. And I do really much like this palette. I know it looks kind of like boring. It has like a white eyeshadow, a pale yellow gold eyeshadow, and then it has 4 different bronzes. Or actually this third one is kind of like a peachy shimmery shade. I love that there's a huge dent there. This palette is something I'm considering on panning, but I want to ask your opinion because I do have a couple of other project ideas too. But I will be panning the ABH Modern Renaissance next year, and that one doesn't have that many shimmers that can be used on a lid, so this one could be quite easy palette to pan with that. And this one is older in my collection, so I would love to get it out. But I have some other project ideas too, so I'm going to film the video, help me choose my panning project. But anyways, I do like this palette. It's an all shimmery palette, and it's definitely like a palette where I would pick only a couple of eyeshadows at once to be used with other eyeshadows from my collection. But of course I wouldn't create a complete look out of this palette because I tend to wear matte eyeshadows in my crease and in my outer corner. So I do like this palette, but is it like a must-have? No, but I still enjoy it. I think these shimmers are beautiful. If you use them with a dry brush, you will get just like a nice subtle shimmery finish, but then if you want like a really foiled effect, you can always wet your brush. Then last, my main eyeshadow palette for the month of November was this Revolution Reloaded Iconic Division palette. And this palette is what I'm wearing today, and this one is what comes to the color story, duping the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture, but of course the layout is different, but the color story is the same. There's just one extra eyeshadow in here, in this palette, and it is the black one. And I will say that black was a great choice to add to this palette because it can give even more depth and that crunchiness to this palette, especially since these eyeshadows, I mean, you can build them up to be quite pigmented, but I'm sure they are not quite the same level than the ABH Subculture is, which I have not tried, but what I have heard of that palette is that it's really pigmented. Overall, this is a palette that I'm kind of like torn with. In this palette there are definitely good and bad things going on. Let's start with the quality. I think the mattes are okay. They are not the best mattes in my collection, and what I like in a matte eyeshadow is that it's kind of like easy and quick to work with, and these are not that kind of mattes. I feel with these mattes I will need to take more time to blend them out. Also, they will take a little bit of building up. Today I'm wearing the greens and I'm wearing just a little bit of this black in the outer corner of my eye, but mainly the depth is from this deepest green eyeshadow. Then I'm wearing this bronze on my lid. And yeah, I like the mattes. They are not the best mattes in my collection, but at the same time I can work with them. The shimmers I don't really like. My favorite shimmer is this bronze that I'm wearing today. It is a nice bronze eyeshadow and I can get like a really nice foiled effect. However, I just feel it's maybe a little bit harder to use than some of the other eyeshadows that are similar color in my collection. And this one gets hard pan easily and it's kind of like crumbly, and it can be crumbly also on my lid. So for example, if I'm wearing this bronze all over my lid and then I want to do eyeliner, it can kind of like crumble under the eyeliner. This green one can look really pretty. I actually did wear it in a video. It was my 5 by New Year project pan intro where I wore this on my lid. It can look pretty when you get it on, but it's really like a glitter mess. Like, it's really hard to get it to show, and the pigmentation is not good, so that is what it looks like. And then it can crumble like all over your face. So I don't like this green. Even though it looks pretty when you get it on, it's too much effort. Also, it gets hard pan so easily. All of these shimmers, these three, get hard pan. I don't know if it is a thing with Makeup Revolution eyeshadows in general. This is the only palette I have from them and there are only 3 shimmers, but all of them get hard pan easily. With the mattes I don't have that problem, but in general I really don't have that hard pan issue with matte eyeshadows. Then this one is the worst eyeshadow in this palette, like 100%. It's so horrible. I just feel like the entire eyeshadow is just like a one hard pan. It's supposed to be like duochrome, but can you see how I'm like just putting my finger there and nothing comes off? Like, the eyeshadow is completely useless. There it is swatch over there, like, I'm going to show it again. I'm like rubbing my finger there. I feel there's nothing in my finger, and when I swatch it, like, yeah, I will get like a slight pink sheen, but it's impossible to get this one to show on my eyes. Then what comes to the color story, I do kinda like it. When I look at this, I will say I do get kinda like overwhelmed and I don't really know what I want to do with it, and I would just like to use something more neutral. But then this has a lot of opportunities you can do with it. You can do with it something really warm, or then you can do something more crunchy. What I do appreciate in this palette and why I'm going to keep it, at least for now, is that this one has some eyeshadows that I don't have anywhere else in my collection. For example, the green mattes. Well, I think I do have this kind of like light army green eyeshadow in the Jeffree Star Androgyny palette, but these other matte greens I don't have anywhere. Sometimes I wonder if I really need them, like if this kind of look is something I do often enough to keep this palette for that kind of eyeshadows. But I will say I do really much love the look I'm wearing today. Maybe I will wear it only a couple of times a year, but I like it. But I think in future I would not necessarily just want to pull this palette out and, you know, play with it and try to come up with a look. But I think this palette will be for me something that if I want to create a look using deeper matte greens, I will reach for this, because I don't have those anywhere else in my collection. So I'm going to keep it for some individual shadows. And you know, overall, like, I like these plums. Like, they are not unique to my collection, but I think they are decent. Like, I can totally work with them. Do I have plums in my collection that I maybe prefer over these? Yes, but these work still fine, so I can totally see myself using them. Same goes with the warm neutrals. Also, there's a nice top here that I'm sure I will enjoy later on. Right now, if I want to wear a top eye look, I will use mattes from the Modern Renaissance because there's the warm taupe shade over there, but when that one is finished, I'm sure I would reach for this one and the black one, and then wear like a shimmery top on my lid. Okay, so let's move on and let's still go quickly through the eyeshadows that I will be using in December. So I already mentioned my Baby Panda palette and I will be really focusing on that, and I will try to incorporate it into looks using the other eyeshadows. But in December I actually do have quite much eyeshadows. I do have my main eyeshadow palette. Well, I will say that one is a smaller main eyeshadow palette. It only has 9 shades, but then I do have a side eyeshadow palette with 6 shades, then I do have a complete matte eyeshadow palette with 10 shades, and then I do have 4 singles to use. So it can be quite much, but I hope I can use all of them and still finish my Baby Panda palette. So let's start with the single eyeshadows. So in December I will need to use my last single eyeshadows from my C palette that I still haven't used this year. Honestly, I'm not completely sure if I have used all of these ever, and I have had this for like 3 years or something. So they are going to be the 4 eyeshadows in the corner over here. So they are all foiled eyeshadows from Makeup Geek. There's Magic Act, that is a light warm gold. Then there is Grandstand, that is a rose gold. Then there is Legend, that is a bronze, and Flamethrower, that is a copper. Grandstand looks like I have like gotten a lot of progress with it, but reality is that when I used it for the first time I dropped it and a lot of shadow crumbled away. Then my last matte eyeshadow palette that I have that I still need to rotate through is this Berry Fall in Love eyeshadow palette. First I was supposed to use this one in, well, the beginning of fall because it's a fall themed palette, but I thought that the color story will also go now in December. So this is what the palette looks like. It's mainly warmer neutrals. As you can see, I have hit pan on a couple of the shades, so these are not that hard to hit pan on. I do really much like these eyeshadows, but at the same time I have not used them in a while, so I'm excited to be using this one. Then my side eyeshadow palette for the month of December is something that I'm not at all sure if I'm going to keep this one or not, so I will need to figure that one out in December. So this one is from a brand Weaker Icon. So this is a Finnish brand exclusively sold in a store called Sokos. So this one is called their I Love Tigers Party Palette, and this one is in the shade, I don't know where it reads, but I know there's a couple of these party palettes they have, and then they do have some palettes that are in similar packaging but not party palettes. And the packaging is similar to the Urban Decay Naked Basics palettes, but these are not supposed to be duping Naked Basics palettes. As you can see, there's a lot of going on that you cannot find on a Naked Basics palette. So there are 3 extremely glittery eyeshadows and then 3 satin eyeshadows. This palette is not something I would really create a complete look out of. I would for sure combine this one with other eyeshadows from my collection with other palettes and then just use 1 or 2 shades from this palette. So that's why I'm not completely sure if I want to keep this. Well, I will need to use all of the eyeshadows. If I like the quality, then I'm going to keep it. But if I think the quality is so, maybe then I won't need to keep this, because I think all of these shades except this light grey I do have somewhere in my collection. And then finally my main eyeshadow palette for December is actually one of my favorite palettes from my entire collection, even though it's not my most used palette, but it's something that I do really love. And this palette, in my opinion, is really underhyped. So this is the Seattle London Olivia Palermo Smoky Swedish Eye palette, and I absolutely love this. In my opinion, this one is like the perfect rose gold eyeshadow palette. It depends what you are looking for. If you want to have a million shades of rose gold, then this one is maybe not it. but there is this one perfect rose gold, and then there are some plum shades you can use with it, or then you can use like this more neutral brown shade with it to create kind of like more neutral look. Then there's like a pop of green, a beautiful, beautiful gold. This one is one of the most stunning golds in my collection. And overall, I think this is a really well executed palette. I love the color story. So yeah, I'm really excited to be using this one in December. I think the color story goes beautifully in the holiday season. I mean, this gold and this green go for sure, but also I think the rose gold and the plums are perfect for this season. So I'm really excited. Also, I love the packaging of this one. It's so sleek and small and kind of like luxurious feeling, but still there's like a lot of product even though it's a small palette. But anyways, I will give a better review of that in about a month. Something I will say is that I will try to go through all of these eyeshadows quite quickly. So I hope to be done with this series like, let's say, just before the Christmas. Because I want to have used all of these eyeshadows before we move, and that will happen 2 days after Christmas. We don't know the actual date yet, but after Christmas anyway. So I will try my best to use all of these eyeshadows before Christmas and then incorporate my Baby Panda palette into those looks. That was everything for today. Thank you for watching this video and see you in my next one. Bye bye.